Hi, my name is Mitch Marlow Sr., and I'm here today because I love to write. And I'm hoping that I can inspire you to write yourself, enjoy poetry in particular, or write poetry. And I started writing when I was 16, and of course that was a long time ago, and I'm still writing, and to date I have completed a total of 572 literary works and 476 are poems, and I want to read just a few of those poems today. I've always loved words that rhyme, and sometimes I'll be thinking of something that makes me very happy, or even very sad, or I miss someone, and I'll just sit down and write a poem. And the poems that I'm going to read today were mostly written for young people, but I think adults will enjoy them too, so just sit back and enjoy the poems. The first one is called Rhyming is Everything. Good morning, good afternoon, whichever it may be. I'm here to read some poems and hope that you will see that finding lots of words that rhyme is something fun to do. And maybe one day you'll think and say, I'll be a poet too. The next poem I wrote, I was going to the bank, and it was a cold but clear day, but a little windy, and there would be little whirlwinds of snow, little crystals on the roof, and that's what made me think of this poem, and I call it Crystal Ballerinas. Sparkling shrouds of white appear as the wind begins to blow, and tiny blasts of whirlwinds are dancing in the snow. If you care to look within, you'll see their smiling eyes as crystal ballerinas race toward the skies. A twinkling, twisting, swirling sight as thousands more join in, embracing the light in a feathery flight while twirling in the wind. A choreography of glitter will chase a pearly plume as the freezing air creates a rare, frosty, feathered bloom. The shivering shapes of winter hear an opus on its way, as our sense of sight takes in the flight of a crystal cloud at play. When the crystal ballerinas dance the sound of winter's way, they take to the skies with their twinkling eyes to return another day. The next one is about a little kid that wants to read but can't right now. It's called Reading is Cool. Teddy bears and fluffy chairs is really what I need, so I can snuggle up as I open up a wonderful book to read. Then Mom can be right next to me and I'll read a book or two. Well, what I really mean is if I could read, that's just what I would do. And when I can finally read, I'll smile indeed and read all night and day. And I'll read so much I won't eat lunch, well, maybe a little, and never go out to play, except maybe sometimes. The next poem has some personification in it, as in giving things that are not human qualities. So I want you to think of summer as a young lady, and the name of the poem is called Remember Summer. Early days of morning sun arriving with kisses sweet, running barefoot on the waking lawn, dew sparkling on her feet. A dream begins each summer morn, birthing thoughts of endless days, and the sunny, glistening morning mist on the leaves and grass it plays. It's summer. Negative thoughts now cast aside. We've earned your subtle, silky breeze, and it gently dances through our minds, through our thoughts, in our minds, and through the trees. From your tears we witness tender pain, see a masterpiece in your eyes, as the beauty from your lonely heart paints rainbows in the skies. No, we'll not forget you, summer, or the perfume in your hair. For your warmth we yearn, but if you did not return, it's something our hearts could not bear. The next poem is called Unique, and I think it just speaks for itself. Everyone here is different. You're all quite unique. You even have your own special sound every time you speak. Take your ears, for example, no matter how big or little. and yet they're slightly different, with your head stuck there in the middle. Did you know that all your fingers are wrapped around a bone? And all the people in the world, and of all the people in the world, the print is yours alone. Here's something to think about. Even twins are not the same. And if they look alike, they each have a different name. What about a spelling test or anything you write? Can anyone form your words like you and make them look just right? When something funny happens, like you saw a pink giraffe, would anyone else sound just like you if they began to laugh? Now let's think of something else. Do you love to see the snow? Well, each and every snowflake is different, don't you know? Unique is all around us, and I'm sure you will agree. Of all the things that aren't the same, unique is what you'll see. This next poem just reminds me of when I was little, and I really like Dr. Seuss, so that's kind of what I wrote about here. It's called A Life of Rhyme. When I was little, he made me giggle when I read Dr. Seuss all alone. Then I continued to grow, and the next thing you know, I was rhyming on my own. And as I grew, somehow I knew I'd love to write words that sounded the same. So I wrote every day, never stopping to play, till finally a poet I became. Now I can't stop writing and spending all my time as I pick up my pen and continue to spend, living a life of rhyme. This one I wrote, I was just missing my granddaughter Paige. This poem came to me. It's called, Do You Remember? I think about you often and wonder how you are. I miss your little smiling eyes that twinkle like a star. You loved to draw with me with colors we would mix, and every one you drew back then had arms and legs like sticks. Do you remember Kermit and around the room he'd fly? Then we'd laugh and play upon the couch till it was time for Betty Bye. I remember all those things and the poems that I read, and the one you liked, the one you liked was about the squirrel that was crazy in the head. But all those things were long ago. Now I sit and reminisce and think about that little girl, the one I really miss. Love, Grandpa. And the next one is kind of a guy poem. It's a limerick. It's called Digging for Gold. Deep inside his nostril it grows until one day a problem arose. Little Bobby been told that while digging for gold, his finger got stuck in his nose. And the next one is a friend of mine had a great-grandmother with the last name of Doodle. So it was kind of silly, funny sounding, so I thought I could do something with that. And here it is, it's called Grandma Doodle. Grandma Doodle had a poodle that was orange and purple and blue. But what was really scary was her granddaughter Mary, whose hair was the same color too. This next poem is about a little girl who did not want to eat her veggies. So it's called Little Brock Lee. When she was little, with her veggies, she'd fiddle, then hide them beneath her chair. But then one day her mom had to say, "What's that I see under there?" And with eyes big and brown, her mother had found the dog eating veggies on the floor. And with innocent eyes and somewhat surprised, Brock knew what lay in store. Your veggies you'll eat, and I will not repeat, or you'll not go outside and play. If your veggies you hide, you'll stay inside and not go out at all today. Not pleased at all, she began to squall with an unhappy look on her face. Then she said with a frown as she put her fork down, "But Mommy, I don't like the taste." "You're only 5, and I'm sure you'll survive if you eat your veggies each day. Now sit up straight, eat what's on your plate, and I promise you won't pass away." So from then on, she ate everything on her plate, and strong and healthy she grew. Now one and all were pleased, except he that had fleas. He wanted his veggies too. The next poem is a friend of mine was telling me about a dog he had that would chase anything. And this is a limerick, and the title is Nostril Anguish, one word. There was nothing my dog wouldn't chase as he ran toward the feline in haste, but it was a real pity because it wasn't a kitty, and there sat a skunk in its place. The next poem is, I love going to the beach, and I think most people do, and this is what I was thinking about. So if you take your shoes off and just wiggle your toes in the sand, you'll be right with me when I read this, and it's called A Perfect Day. As the bright sun shines and the brisk wind blows, I take my hand and touch the sand as I smile and wiggle my toes. It's a perfect day, so wonderfully sweet, and the gulls overhead are diving for the bread that I throw for them to eat. Then I look to the waves as they crash on the shore, and the sound that it makes as my breath it takes away at the sound of its roar. Now my feet are in the water, but stop when I suddenly see a crab that might say, "Get out of my way, or your big toe will go home with me." And after a while, I look up and see a sunset in awesome display. And the next thing you know, it's time to go, and the end of a perfect day. This next poem, which is a limerick, my granddaughter came in one day and asked me why her doll didn't have a nose. It was one of those cloth dolls, and the face was painted on it, but it had no nose. I told her that it probably sneezed and blew its nose off, and that's what gave me the idea for this poem. It's called A Piggy Named Ted. There once was a piggy named Ted, as the tickle in his nose did spread. With a mighty inhale he did spout like a whale, and blew off the snout from his head. The next poem is kind of a play on Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat. It's just a little different version. I call it The Rat in the Cat. Now, why did that rat end up in that cat? We can only speculate. Perhaps as they began to chat, it turned into a spat, and then it was just too late. Or maybe the rodent called him fat, and quite suddenly, that was that. So it must have been his fate. Guess we'll never really know what happened to that rat. But this is for sure, the rat was a cure for a very hungry cat. This next one is, I just think of sometimes things hit me funny, and I just write them down, and I just had a lot of little thoughts, and I put them together. And this is called Silly Poems, and it's 4, because I've written other ones. But anyway, here it goes. I have a question. What the heck is a snurp? And why don't we ever hear a bird burp? If a pig sneezes too hard, will he blow off his snout? And will my toilet still flush if the lights go out? If you saw an ostrich or a penguin in the sky, then you probably need glasses because neither can fly. And I still remember when I was a youth, I lost my lucky turtle tooth. It really made me sad. And one more question before I go. Are there bathrooms on a UFO? The next one, it's a short poem I wrote, and I know different parts of the country, they probably call them different things, but sometimes they call them chicken fingers, sometimes they call them chicken strips. Either way, that's what I was thinking about when I wrote this poem. Here's a question for you, and it may sound kind of dumb, but if chickens have no hands, then where do chicken fingers come from? The next poem is about a cowboy who's rough and tough and is just a no-nonsense kind of person. And his name is Wade McFade, cowboy legend. Wade McFade was rough and tough, and nothing to him was funny. But he was a little weird because the one thing he feared was a fuzzy little bunny. This is the last poem, and it's about a little girl who's potty training, and her mom is trying to get her to cooperate. The title, actually it's a double meaning for the title, is called A Time to Go. And Lynn, tell you again, you better sit still or you just might fall in. But she didn't listen to her mommy's advice, and she wiggled and giggled and then paid the price. Quite suddenly she slipped as the handle she gripped, and down the potty she flew. When her mom came in, there was no sign of Lynn, and there on the floor was her shoe. Moral of story: it's okay to sit and think, but if you wiggle, hold on to the sink. Thank you for your time.